And good morning, everybody. Straight ahead, a fantastic show, and it's all about summer, and it's all about you and the health of you and your family. You know, we are set to do a very, very good show here the next half hour, so keep it right here. It's called What About Nutrition? And what about nutrition? Well, the show that explores the link between nutrition and optimum health and asks the overlooked question, what about nutrition? You know, every day there is more scientific evidence and research regarding the critical importance of nutrition for the promotion of optimum health. On What About Nutrition on this radio station, we'll focus in on dietary supplements, herbs, vitamins, and homeopathic remedies, what they are, what they do, and how to use them. We'll also discuss diet, exercise, and other aspects of living a healthy lifestyle in the 21st century. Your host is my friend David Gall. I call him Mr. Nutrition. He's the owner of O'Fallon Nutrition and a graduate of Washington University and Huntington College of Health Sciences Comprehensive Nutrition Program. Remember, always consult your healthcare practitioner before beginning any new supplements or other changes to your lifestyle. The purpose of this show is to inform, educate, and entertain, not to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. And good summertime morning to you, Mr. Nutrition.
Hey there, Steve. I don't know, after this weekend, I might have to change my name.
Yeah, and you were a Father's Day for the very first time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I have a almost 4-month-old son now, and it's a tremendous amount of fun. We had a nice little outing to the zoo last week for Father's Day.
Cool.
Really great place.
Really good stuff. Well, we decided, we talked about this, a lot of people are going to be barbecuing. You got the 4th of July holiday coming up, the big long weekend. It's going to be a lot of cooking and grilling and things like that. There's a lot of concerns people do have about, overcooking meats and getting, all the carcinogenic. And I'm going to let you address that today. We have some other aspects also. So let's call this our summertime, deep in the summer show.
That's right. When I was writing this, I called it Summer Fun.
Yes.
And so, one of the main topics today, or the main topic, is we're going to discuss grilled meats and meats that are cooked at high temperatures. So some people have heard through the internet or through things that have come out on the news that when meat or eggs are grilled or cooked at high temperatures, these compounds called HAAs are formed. Now, the big word is heterocyclic aromatic amines, but we'll call them HAAs for short. So these compounds are known by abbreviations MELQ, MELQX, and PHIP. Now, again, we don't have to remember that. The only reason I point it out is because later I'll talk about studies, and those studies have to measure those compounds by name in order to see if they're reduced. So anyways, you can also find these same compounds in cigarette smoke. So isn't that wild, Steve?
That's scary.
Yeah, so if we grill meat at high temperatures, we can create these same carcinogenic compounds found in cigarette smoke, or some of the same, I should say.
Which is basically something burning.
Right, it's exactly true. And according to WebMD, animal studies show that when taken by mouth, which means eaten, they cause cancer in multiple organs, including the stomach, colon, liver, oral cavity, mammary glands, breast, skin, and intestine. And those are animal studies, but several human studies suggest that there's an increased cancer risk associated with eating grilled or well-done meats that may contain these or other similar compounds. And just to give you some evidence, one study performed at the National Institute for Public Health in Oslo, Norway, measured HAAs in human urine following a fried meat meal. Now, I have to point out, this was kind of a funny study, because when I read it, they talked about frying the meat, and anyways, it kind of made me hungry. But
yeah.
So they fry the meat, and anyways, they found significant amounts of two of those compounds I named earlier that are created from grilling meats. They found 2 of those carcinogenic compounds in human urine for 12 hours following the meal.
Wow. Now, that's just astonishing to me. And
Right.
you mentioned fried.
Right.
That's not like a raw flame on a hamburger that's done with a little that cover of carbon on it.
Right. So frying or sautéing at high temperature can also create these compounds. And in fact, they can be created in eggs. And some studies show that they can even be found in baked breads and things like that are cooked at very high temperatures.
And what are these things called again?
HAAs, heterocyclic aromatic amines.
Man, that's not something anybody can remember.
Right.
Don't even ask me now. You just said it. I don't. But
I had to repeat it about 10 times last night just to get the pronunciation down.
But it's HHAs.
Yes, excuse me, HAAs. And if you
Oh,
Googled that,
HAAs, okay.
correct. And if you Googled it, you would find a tremendous amount. And I'll also point out another study titled Mutagenic Activity and Heterocyclic Amine Content of the Human Diet. So this is just saying it's a study that looked at these compounds in a human diet and whether or not they were mutagenic, which means creates gene mutations. And the study quoted that the mutagenic activity and the mass amount of HAAs responsible for the activity have been measured in some cooked foods. Cooked meats are the predominant source of mutagenic activity in the diet, according to that study. And it also goes on to state that this activity, this mutagenic activity, which is this gene-changing activity, becomes significant at higher temperatures. And it also states that, like I said earlier, non-meat products such as baked breads can also form a significant amount of this mutagenic activity, particularly when they're overcooked. So, to move forward, we know that cooking and grilling meat and certain other high foods at these high temperatures creates these HAAs. We also know that they're found in cigarette smokes, and that these HAAs that are in the crust and the crispy parts of grilled meats and sautéed meats have been shown in animal studies to contribute to cancer in multiple organs. So, wouldn't it be great if there was some trick we could employ to minimize the formation of these things when we cook? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what about nutrition?
There you go.
Right? That's the theme of the show, and that's
Absolutely.
nutrition to the rescue here.
Yes.
So that's right. Common household herbs and spices have been shown in studies to significantly reduce the formation of these carcinogenic compounds found in grilled meats. Research has also shown promise using vitamin E oil as a tool to reduce their production. I didn't even know about that until I started doing the deeper research for this particular episode, Steve. But in a minute, I'm going to talk about that vitamin E oil.
Yeah, I just wrote it down.
It's wild. So one study looked at using marinade composed of garlic, onion, and lemon juice as a method to reduce the formation of these compounds. All right, so did the garlic, onion, and lemon juice reduce the compounds? Did it work?
I don't know.
Of course it did.
Really?
Yeah, the study was published in the Journal of Agricultural Food Chemistry in 2007, December, and it was titled The Effect of Oil Marinades with Garlic, Onion, and Lemon Juice on the Formation of Heterocyclic Aromatic Amines in Fried Beef.
But my question would be,
Yes.
was the meat still overcooked?
That's a good question. And basically, the meat it appears that what they say is that it's fried beef patties. I'll actually read a little part of it to you real quickly. It says the effects of the application of oil marinades with garlic, onion, and lemon juice. So basically, they say that when the amount of garlic was changed from 2 to 20 grams or 20% of the marinade, the estimated MELQX, that's just the name of one of these nasty things, was reduced about 70%.
That's a lot.
And to answer your question on the temperature, one of the other studies, this one doesn't say exactly how high it cooks it. It just says that it fries the beef patties. Another study I looked at a few different levels of temperature. And that study found that HAA's greatest concentrations were generated when patties were fried at 225 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes aside. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know the math, but I think that's around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And that study also looked at 200 degrees Celsius and 175 degrees Celsius, although I didn't quote that part. And basically, the higher the temperature, the more of these things were formed. And many of these studies do specifically refer to things like well-done beef. And basically, the more you cook it, the more of these you create. So, but getting back to this garlic, onion, and lemon juice, basically that study found that if one marinates their meat in lots of garlic and onion with some lemon juice, the formation of these HAAs could be significantly reduced. And that's because garlic and onion are rich in antioxidants, the compounds that neutralize formation of these HAAs and what's known as free radicals in the first place. Now, Steve, one of the coolest studies I found was published in May 2000 by the journal Food Chemistry Toxicology. And it investigated the use of vitamin E and rosemary extract on the formation of these HAAs on grilled meats. And that study was called Formation and Inhibition of Heterocyclic Aromatic Amines in Fried Ground Beef Patties. It was performed at the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition, Michigan State University, East Lansing, USA. And that study found, like I said, that the greatest concentrations were created when the meat was cooked at the highest temperature. But also, more importantly, that study also found that vitamin E, when used at two different concentrations, either 1% or 10%, and added directly to the ground beef patties, reduced PHIP concentrations in the cooked patties by 69% or 72% with the higher amount. That is a massive reduction. And the fascinating thing is that the 10%, the much higher amount, only caused a 3% increase in how many of these were neutralized.
Now,
So in other words, a little bit worked.
Okay, so you're talking about vitamin E oil.
Yeah, and what they're talking about, so people are like, well, what vitamin E oil? They actually mentioned in the study that you could pop open a vitamin E soft gel,
Really?
squeeze it on your meat, and that would do the trick.
No kidding.
No kidding. And of course, stores like ours actually do sell all natural vitamin E liquid oil.
Yep, and by the
No
way,
other
that's
ingredients.
O'Fallon Nutrition.
That's O'Fallon Nutrition. That's right. We should even mention that.
Yeah.
So basically, really, really impressive that this vitamin E actually reduced the concentration when it was added directly to the meat, and that's a real study. Now, also, I want to point out that it did say that comparable inhibition of these HAAs was achieved by the direct addition of vitamin E to the surface of the patties before frying. So that's exactly what we just talked about, just squashing some vitamin E onto the meat. It's a fat-soluble antioxidant. Meat's got a lot of fat in it. And of course, basically they said with that part of the study, the concentration of 5 of these compound studies were all reduced with average reductions ranging from 45 to 75%.
Amazing.
Now, finally here on the meat. The same study also looked at using rosemary extract, another famous antioxidant known to inhibit the formation of these grilled meat HAAs. And again, the antioxidant rosemary worked. The study found that, quote, oleoresin rosemary, when used at 2 concentrations, reduced PHIP formation by 44%. So, we've established that cooking meats at high temperatures creates carcinogens known as HAAs. These carcinogens can cause gene mutations and other unpleasant effects. Fortunately, we can mitigate the formation of these compounds with certain antioxidants. Studies have shown that vitamin E, rosemary extract, or even garlic and onion applied before cooking can all help inhibit the production of large amounts of these compounds. So, Steve,
Wow.
you can grill your meat and eat it too.
That's right, and you can get your vitamin E oil at O'Fallon Nutrition.
No kidding.
Fascinating. It's our summer fun edition. We'll be back to talk about another subject coming right up, and I bet you want to know what that is. You're listening to What About Nutrition on this beautiful weekend and on Westplex Radio. We will be right back.